3 months into the rescue operation, Jake Morrison stood in the main conference room of the Horizon's Edge and looked at the map of the Nexus. Red dots marked the locations where they had successfully extracted children. Green dots showed known groups they had not reached yet. And at the center of the map, pulsing with an ominous black color, was the area known as the Fractured Lands. "Nobody goes there alone," Lieutenant Chris Palmer said. "2 of our rescue workers tried last week. Both came back screaming. One still hasn't stopped." Linda Hayes pulled up footage from their neural recorders. The images were corrupted, barely watchable, impossible angles. Gravity that pointed in 6 directions at once. Time that looped and skipped. And through it all, the sound of children crying. "The corruption is worse there," Linda explained. "The simulation code has been breaking down for millennia. What's left isn't just unstable, it's actively hostile. The system is trying to maintain itself by any means necessary, and it's torturing the consciousnesses trapped inside to do it." Jake felt sick. How many children? At least 17. Maybe more. It's hard to get accurate readings through all the interference. "And Lisa says she won't trust us unless we get them out," Commander Ryan Blake added. Lisa's was the leader of the largest group of mixed-species children they had found. Over 300 kids from dozens of different races, all living together in a stable zone of the simulation. They had created their own society, their own language. And Lisa's, a Zentari female who had been protecting them for 2,000 years, did not trust the humans. She had given them a test. Rescue the children from the Fractured Lands, and she would believe humanity's promises. Fail, and she would assume the humans were just another group of adults who lied to children. "So we go in," Jake said simply. Ryan shook his head. "Captain, with respect, this is suicide. The Fractured Lands have already broken 2 trained professionals. What makes you think we can do better?" "Because we have to," Jake said. "Those 17 children have been suffering in there for God knows how long. And 300 more are watching to see if we care enough to try? We can't fail them," Linda nodded. "I'll go. I've been in the simulation more than anyone. I know how to navigate corrupted code." "I'm going to," Chris said. "If the code needs to be rewritten on the fly, you'll need me there." "And you'll need protection," Gary Newton added. He was a veteran of the virtual combat divisions, trained to fight in digital environments. "I can handle whatever the simulation throws at us." Jake looked at his team. 3 volunteers willing to risk everything for children they had never met. Children from species that had been dead for thousands of years. It was the most human thing he had ever seen. "Then we all go," he said. "Tomorrow at 08:00, get your equipment ready. Linda, prepare the neural interfaces. Chris, study the code patterns we have from the Fractured Lands. Gary, review defensive protocols. This is going to be the hardest extraction yet." The next morning, they gathered in the simulation chamber. 4 neural crowns, 4 chairs. 4 people about to dive into a digital nightmare? "Remember," Linda said as they prepared to connect, "the Fractured Lands will try to confuse you. It will show you things that aren't real. It will make you doubt yourself. Stay focused on the mission. Find the children. Get them to the extraction point. Don't let the simulation pull you into its madness." They activated the interfaces together. The world dissolved. Jake opened his eyes in hell. The sky was broken into pieces that moved independently, showing different times of day simultaneously. The ground was made of faces that screamed silently. Buildings grew from the earth like teeth, then crumbled into sand, then reformed in different configurations. Gravity was a suggestion that changed its mind every few seconds. "Stay together," Linda's voice said, but it came from 6 different directions at once. Jake tried to move toward where he thought she was, but his legs did not work right. Each step took him in a direction he did not intend. Up became down, left became inside out. "The code is fighting us," Chris said. His avatar flickered like a bad signal. "It knows we're trying to extract the children. It's actively resisting." Gary's avatar solidified beside Jake. The veteran looked grim. "I've been in bad simulations before, but this is beyond anything I've trained for. We need to move fast before this place drives us crazy." Linda appeared, her form more stable than the others. She had been in the Nexus longer, learned to adapt better. She pointed toward a structure that looked like it was built from frozen lightning. The children's signatures are coming from there, but the path isn't straightforward. The simulation will try to turn us around, send us in circles. They started moving. Every step was a battle. The fractured lands did not want them there. The ground tried to swallow them. The air became thick, then thin, then turned to liquid. Time stuttered. Jake watched Chris take a step, then saw that same step repeated a dozen times from different angles, like looking at a broken mirror. How did children survive this? Gary asked, his voice strained. They didn't, Linda said quietly. Not really. Whatever is left of them, it won't be whole. They reached the structure of frozen lightning. Up close, Jake could see that it was not a building at all. It was a cage. And inside, 17 small figures huddled together, their forms, constantly shifting and reforming as the corruption tore at them. The children were fragments, parts of different species mixed together in ways that should not be possible. An arm made of crystal attached to a body of smoke. Eyes that floated independently. Voices that came from mouths that were not there. Oh God, Chris whispered. What has this place done to them? Jake stepped forward. The children recoiled, their fractured forms pulsing with fear. He held up his hands, keeping his movements slow. We're here to help, he said. We're going to get you out of here. One of the fragments drifted closer. It had the face of something that might have been mammalian once, but the features kept changing. Young, then old, then young, again. It spoke in a voice that layered dozens of tones on top of each other. Help, hurt, help, hurt, same. Everyone says help. Everyone brings hurt. Not us, Jake said firmly. We're different. We're human, and humans keep their promises. The fragment laughed, and the sound was like breaking glass. Promises. Lies, words empty, gone, forever gone, we are forever. Forever broken, Linda moved to Jake's side. The corruption has damaged their sense of self. They can't tell where they end and the simulation begins. We need to stabilize them before we can extract them. How? Gary asked. Rewrite their code, Chris said. He was already working, his hands moving through streams of data that only he could see. I can patch the worst of the damage. It won't fix them completely, but it might hold them together long enough to get them out. He set to work. Jake watched as Chris manipulated the fundamental code of the simulation, rewriting reality one line at a time. It was delicate work. One mistake could erase the children completely. The fractured lands did not like what Chris was doing. The environment became more hostile. The ground split open, revealing nothing underneath. The sky fell in pieces like shattered glass, and from everywhere and nowhere a sound built. A scream of rage from the simulation itself. Work faster, Gary said. His avatar had formed a barrier around the group, but it was cracking under the pressure. This place is trying to kill us. Almost done, Chris said through gritted teeth. Sweat ran down his face in the real world, visible even through the neural interface. Just a few more lines of code. One of the children suddenly screamed, not a sound of pain but of awareness. Its fragmented form began to pull together, pieces reconnecting in ways that made sense. It looked at its own hands as if seeing them for the first time in centuries. I am me, it whispered. I remember being me. One by one, the other 16 children began to stabilize. Their forms stopped shifting, their voices became singular. They were still damaged, still broken in ways that would take years to heal, but they were individuals again. Themselves. Extraction portal now, Jake ordered. Linda opened the doorway. It fought to stay open, the simulation trying to close it. Gary held off the environment as it pressed in from all sides. Chris maintained the code patches on the children, keeping them stable. Go, Jake shouted to the children. Through the portal. You're free, you're finally free. The first child hesitated. After thousands of years of torture, trust was impossible. But then it looked at Jake's face, saw the determination there, and made a choice. It ran for the portal and dove through, then the next. And the next. One by one, the 17 children escaped the fractured lands. Jake was the last through. As he crossed the threshold, he looked back at the digital hell they were leaving behind. The simulation was collapsing now, the entire fractured land zone imploding without the children to sustain it. In seconds it would be gone completely. Good, Jake thought. Let it be destroyed. Let that nightmare end. He stepped through the portal and back into reality. The medical bay was chaos. 17 children in various states of trauma, all needing immediate care, but they were alive. They were real, they were saved, Lisa's was waiting for him. The Zentari leader stood in the corner of the medical bay, watching everything with her large, dark eyes. The ship came out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder that ran through every deck. Captain Jake Morrison gripped the arms of his command chair and watched the view screen flicker to life. Outside, a massive structure floated in the darkness of space, bigger than any moon he had ever seen. What am I looking at? Jake asked. Dr. Linda Hayes moved closer to her scanner station. Her fingers danced across the controls as data streamed onto her screen. It's the Nexus, the alien simulation we've been searching for. Captain, this thing is old. Really old. My readings say it's been here for at least 3 million years. Commander Ryan Blake stood at the tactical station with his arms crossed. Any signs of life? Weapons, defenses? Nothing, Ryan said. The structure is dormant, but it's still drawing power from somewhere. The energy signature is unlike anything in our database. Jake leaned forward. The Nexus looked like a black sphere covered in geometric patterns that pulsed with dim blue light. Humanity had found references to it in the ruins of a dead civilization on the edge of explored space. The records spoke of a great training ground, a place where young aliens learned to survive before joining their people among the stars. Take us closer, Jake ordered. Nice and slow? The horizon's edge crept forward. As they approached, the patterns on the Nexus grew clearer. They were not random. Each one was a symbol, and there were thousands of them, maybe millions. Linda's scanner beeped urgently. Captain, I'm picking up something. Neural signatures? Consciousness patterns? There are minds inside that thing. Jake felt his chest tighten. How many? Linda's face went pale as she read the numbers. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. And they're active, aware. Captain, there are people in there. The bridge went quiet. Every member of the crew understood what this meant. The Nexus was supposed to be abandoned. The species who built it were gone, vanished into history along with countless others. But someone was still inside. Can we communicate with them? Jake asked. Linda shook her head. Not from here. The Nexus runs on technology we barely understand. But I think I can create an interface. If we dock with it, I might be able to establish a connection. Ryan stepped forward. Captain, we should call for backup. We don't know what we're dealing with. By the time backup arrives, weeks will pass, Jake said. If there are survivors in there, they've already been waiting for who knows how long. We're here now. We have to try. The crew exchanged glances. They all knew Jake was right. This was why they had joined the exploration service. To find the impossible. To help those who needed it. Bring us in, Jake ordered. Linda, get ready to make your connection. The horizon's edge moved alongside the Nexus. Up close, the structure was even more impressive. The geometric patterns seemed to shift and change, creating new designs that hurt to look at for too long. The ship's docking clamps extended and locked onto a smooth section of the sphere's surface. Linda worked quickly, connecting cables and setting up her equipment. She wore a neural interface crown, a device that would let her mind touch the Nexus directly. It was dangerous. There were stories of people who connected to unknown systems and never woke up. Ready when you are, Captain, Linda said. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the fear in her eyes. Do it, he said. Linda closed her eyes and activated the interface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her body went rigid. The screens around her station filled with images that moved too fast to follow. Alien text scrolled past. Diagrams appeared and vanished. And through it all, Linda sat frozen. Her mind somewhere else entirely. Jake counted the seconds, 30, 40, 50, just when he was about to order Ryan to pull her out. Linda gasped and opened her eyes. "Oh God," she whispered. "Oh God, they're children." She pulled off the neural crown with shaking hands and looked at Jake. Tears ran down her face. The Nexus is a training simulation. Different alien species used it to prepare their young before they reached adulthood. But something went wrong. The civilizations that built it are gone. They died out or left this region of space, and they forgot about their children. The kids are still in there, trapped in the simulation. Some of them have been there for hundreds of years, some for thousands. The words hit Jake like a punch. He thought about his own daughter back on Earth, safe and loved. He thought about her growing up alone in a digital prison, forgotten by everyone who was supposed to care for her. How is that possible? Ryan asked. How can they survive that long? The simulation doesn't let them age, Linda explained. It keeps them in a loop. They can't die. They can't grow up. They just exist forever, waiting for someone to let them out. And no one ever came. Until now. Jake stood up. His mind raced through options and possibilities. Can we get them out? Linda nodded slowly. Maybe. The system was designed to release its occupants from the outside. Each species had its own genetic key, its own password. But those species are gone. Their keys are lost. But there might be another way, she continued. Human neural patterns are different from other species. We're adaptable in ways they weren't. When I connected to the Nexus, it responded to me. It read my mind like I was one of its users. I think humans might be able to interface with it directly. I think we might be able to override the locks. Jake looked at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his decision. This was bigger than their mission. Bigger than exploration. There were children in that structure. Alien children from dead civilizations, but children nonetheless. And they were alone. How long would it take? Jake asked. To get them all out? Months, maybe years. The Nexus is huge. It contains entire worlds inside its simulation. We'd have to search every corner, find every child, and bring them out safely. And we don't know what condition they're in. Being trapped that long, it has to have damaged them. Then we start now, Jake said. His voice was firm. Send a message back to Earth. Tell them what we found. Tell them we need supplies, personnel, and support. We're not leaving until every child in that system is free? Ryan raised an eyebrow. Captain, we're talking about alien children from extinct species. Earth Command might not approve using our resources for this. Jake met his gaze. Then they can come out here and tell me to stop in person. Until then, we have work to do. Linda smiled for the first time since making contact. I'll need to go in myself. Someone has to enter the simulation and make contact with the children. They're scared. They've been abandoned. They need to see a friendly face. Not alone, Jake said. We do this together. Build your team. Get the equipment ready. Tomorrow we go in. That night, Jake stood in his quarters and looked out at the Nexus. Somewhere inside that black sphere, thousands of children waited in the dark. They had been waiting for longer than he could imagine. But the waiting was over. Humanity had found them. And humanity did not leave children behind. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humanity had found the Nexus. Humanity was extracting thousands of children from extinct species. Humanity was doing what no other civilization had done in millions of years. Most species did not care. The children in the Nexus were relics of the past, genetic dead ends from civilizations that no longer existed. Why waste resources on them? But three groups cared very much. And their interest would threaten everything. Jake Morrison received the first warning from Admiral Helen Price on Earth. Her face on the communication screen looked tired. Behind her, he could see the chaos of command headquarters, people rushing back and forth with urgent messages. Jake, we have a situation, Helen said. The Saranthi Empire has made contact. They're demanding we turn over any Saranthi children immediately. Jake felt his jaw tighten. The Saranthi were a warrior culture known for their pride and their cruelty. They valued strength above all else. Their empire stretched across dozens of systems. "How many Saranthi children do we have?" Jake asked. 47, Linda Hayes answered from beside him. All extracted from various zones of the Nexus, ages ranging from the equivalent of 6 to 15 years old in human terms. "Tell the Saranthi they can't have them," Jake said. Helen's eyes widened. "Jake, they're threatening military action. They have a battle fleet heading toward your position right now. They'll be there in 4 days." "I don't care if they bring their entire armada," Jake said, his voice hard. "The Saranthi abandoned those children, left them to rot in a digital prison for centuries. They don't get to show up now and claim parental rights. The Saranthi argue that genetic heritage gives them authority over their species' offspring," Helen explained. "And technically by galactic law they might be right." "Then galactic law is wrong," Jake said. "Those children are people, not property. And I'm not handing traumatized kids over to a culture that already threw them away once." Helen was quiet for a moment, then she nodded. "I'll back you. The president will back you." "But Jake, this could mean war." "Then we'll deal with it," Jake said. "But we won't sacrifice children to avoid a fight." The second problem arrived 2 days later. A group calling themselves the Archivists filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Council. They were an ancient species of digital beings who viewed themselves as the protectors of history. Their representative appeared as a hologram on the bridge of the horizon's edge. It looked like a collection of geometric shapes that constantly reformed themselves into new patterns. "You are destroying a historical monument," the archivist said in a voice like wind through crystals. "The Nexus is one of the oldest structures in known space. It represents the pinnacle of collaborative civilization. And you are dismantling it to retrieve its contents?" "Its contents are children," Linda said sharply. "Living, conscious beings who are suffering. They are part of the Nexus now," the archivist responded. "They have been integrated into the system for so long that they are inseparable from it. They are history, they belong in the archive." Jake stepped forward. "Are you seriously suggesting we should leave children trapped in a broken simulation because they're historically interesting?" "We are suggesting that some things are more important than individual comfort. The Nexus teaches us about who we were, about the civilizations that came before. That knowledge is irreplaceable." "So are the kids," Jake said flatly. "We're getting them out. All of them. If that destroys your precious monument, then it wasn't worth preserving." The archivist's form shifted to sharp, angry angles. "You will regret this decision. We have filed injunctions in 17 different legal jurisdictions. We have supporters among the elder species. You cannot simply ignore the weight of history." "Watch me," Jake said, and cut the connection. But the third problem was the worst because it came from within humanity itself. Victor Lang was a politician on Earth with a growing following. He led a movement called Terra First, which argued that humanity should focus on its own people before helping aliens. He went on every news network, gave speeches in every major city, and his message was simple and appealing. "Why are we spending billions of credits to rescue alien children when human colonies are struggling?" he asked in one broadcast. "Why? Are we risking human lives for species that are already extinct? These resources should go to our own people. Our own children, Terra first, humanity first, always." The movement gained momentum. Protests erupted at spaceports. Supply ships heading to the Nexus were blockaded. Some human colonies declared they would not support the rescue operation. Jake watched the protests on the news and felt frustrated. How could he make them understand? These were children. Yes, they were alien children. But they were children nonetheless, alone, suffering, abandoned. Linda put a hand on his shoulder. "Some people will never understand," she said gently. "They see difference before they see need. But not everyone is like that. Look." She pulled up another news feed. This one showed counter-protests. Humans marching in support of the rescue operation. Families holding signs that read, "No child left behind," and "Every child deserves a home." There were more of them than the Terra First protesters. Many more. The majority supports what we're doing, Linda said. Don't let the loud ones make you think otherwise. 4 days later, the Saranthi arrived. 12 warships materialized in space around the Nexus. They were sleek, dangerous vessels painted in the crimson and gold of the Saranthi Empire. Their weapons powered up immediately, targeting the horizons. Edge and the 3 support ships that had arrived from Earth. Jake stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display. They were outgunned, badly. If it came to a fight, they would lose. "This is Commander Vector of the Saranthi Imperial Fleet," a voice boomed over the communication channel. "You will surrender. The Saranthi offspring to us immediately or face the consequences." "This is Captain Jake Morrison," Jake responded calmly. "The children you're referring to are under our protection. They will not be handed over to anyone." "You dare refuse the Saranthi Empire?" Vector's voice was full of rage. "Those are our children. Our genetic legacy. You have no right to keep them." "They're not your children," Jake said. "You abandoned them 800 years ago. You left them in that simulation to suffer. We're the ones who rescued them. We're the ones who cared enough to try. That makes them our responsibility." "Genetic right supersedes all other claims," Vector responded. "This is your final warning. Return our offspring or we will take them by force." Jake was about to respond when Linda grabbed his arm. "Wait," she said. "I have an idea." She quickly opened a channel to the medical bay where the 47 Saranthi children were recovering. "Put Crether on," she said. A young Saranthi male appeared on screen. He was tall for his age, with the characteristic scaled skin and ridge-crested head of his species. His eyes were intelligent and hard. "Crether," Linda said gently, "the Saranthi Empire is here. They want to take you and the others back to their society. What do you want us to tell them?" Crether was silent for a moment. Then his expression hardened. "Put me on the main channel. Let me speak to them." Jake nodded and opened the communication line. Crether's image appeared on the screens of every Saranthi warship. "I am Crether," the young Saranthi said. "I have been in the Nexus for 600 years. My parents left me there. My civilization left me there. For centuries, I was alone in the dark. I screamed for help. No one came." His voice grew stronger. "These humans, who share no blood with me, who gain nothing from helping me, they came into the nightmare. They pulled me out. They gave me food and shelter and care. They asked for nothing in return." Crether looked directly at the camera. "You are not my people. My people abandoned me. These humans are my people now. They are the ones who showed me what family means. And I will not leave them." One by one, the other 46 Saranthi children appeared on screen behind Crether. All of them nodded in agreement. "We do not recognize your claim," they said in unison. "We are human now, by choice." The communication channel was silent. Jake could imagine the shock on Commander Vector's face. The Saranthi valued honor above all else. And their own children had just publicly rejected them in favor of another species. Finally, Vector spoke. His voice was strained. "You have shamed the Saranthi Empire. This insult will not be forgotten." The warships powered down their weapons. Slowly, one by one, they turned and jumped into faster-than-light travel. They were leaving. Jake let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. They had won? Not through force, but through the simple power of children telling the truth. But the battle was not over. On Earth, Victor Lang's movement was growing. More protests. More calls to end the rescue operation. Then something happened that changed everything. A video went viral across human networks. It showed Gary Newton inside the fractured lands, his face twisted with the strain of neural feedback, carrying a small alien child through impossible geometry. The child was crying, and Gary was whispering to it, "I've got you. You're safe now. I promise, I promise." The image of a human soldier risking his mind and life to save an alien child became the symbol of the rescue operation. It spread everywhere. People who had been neutral suddenly spoke up in support. Donations poured in. Volunteers signed up in numbers that overwhelmed the recruitment offices. Linda Hayes opened her eyes inside the simulation and immediately felt wrong. Her body was not quite right. The air tasted like copper and static. The sky above was a color that did not exist in nature, somewhere between purple and a scream. Status check. Jake's voice came through the communication link. He was still on the ship, monitoring her vital signs. I'm in, Linda said. It's strange here. The physics are different. My brain keeps trying to make sense of it and failing. She stood on what looked like a beach, except the sand was made of tiny glass cubes and the ocean was still perfectly flat like a mirror. In the distance, she could see structures that might have been buildings or trees or something else entirely. I'm picking up the neural signatures about 2 kilometers north of your position, Jake said. 6 individuals. They're clustered together. Linda started walking. Each step felt too light, like the gravity was negotiable. The landscape around her shifted subtly when she was not looking directly at it. A rock would be blue, then she would blink, and it would be red. A cloud would drift left, then suddenly be on her right. This place is falling apart, she said. The code is degrading. I can feel it. How bad is it? Bad enough. If we don't get these kids out soon, sections of the simulation might collapse completely. I don't know what happens to a consciousness when its digital environment crashes. She did not want to find out. After 20 minutes of walking, she saw them. 6 figures huddled together on a platform of crystalline material that floated above the strange ground. They were small, maybe the size of human 10-year-olds, but their bodies were completely different. They looked like they were made of living glass, faceted and prismatic. Light moved through them in waves of color. The Cretheri. Linda had read about them in the old records. A species of silicon-based life forms who communicated through light pulses. They had been one of the most advanced civilizations in this region of space. Then, about 800 years ago, all their signals stopped. No one knew why. Now Linda knew. They had left their children behind. She approached slowly, keeping her movements calm and non-threatening. The 6 Cretheri children noticed her immediately. They began pulsing rapidly, their bodies flashing in complex patterns. Linda's translator struggled to make sense of it. Easy, she said softly. I'm not going to hurt you. My name is Linda. I'm here to help. The largest of the children moved in front of the others, protective. Its light patterns became more aggressive, sharp reds and angry oranges. I know you're scared, Linda continued. You've been alone for a long time. But you're not alone anymore. We found you, and we're going to take you home. The protective child's lights shifted to confusion. Blues and greens mixed with questioning whites. It pulsed a pattern at her. Linda's translator finally caught up. The meaning came through as a single word, repeated over and over. Home? 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 Her heart broke. These children did not remember home. They had been in the simulation for 8 centuries. That was longer than most civilizations lasted. Everything they knew, everything they were, had been shaped by this digital prison. A real place, Linda said. Outside this simulation. A physical world with real sunlight and real ground. A place where you can grow and change and become who you're meant to be. The children pulsed among themselves, their lights creating a complex conversation Linda could not follow. Finally, the protective one turned back to her. Its pattern was slow, careful. Simulation is eternal. Simulation is all. There is nothing else. That's what you were told, Linda said. But it's not true. This place is artificial, created, and it's breaking. Can't you feel it? She gestured at the impossible sky, the shifting landscape. The children followed her gaze and their lights dimmed. Yes, they could feel it. They had probably felt it for years. I can take you out, Linda said. But you have to trust me. The smallest child moved forward. Its lights were tentative, hopeful yellows and curious greens. It reached out one crystalline limb toward Linda's hand. She held still, letting it make contact. The moment they touched, images flooded into Linda's mind. She saw the simulation through the child's perspective. Centuries of loneliness, waiting for parents who never came. Watching the world slowly break apart, one glitch at a time. The terror of existing forever in a dying dream. Tears ran down Linda's face. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry this happened to you. The small child pulled back. Its lights shifted to a pattern Linda's translator rendered as a question. Why sorry? You did not leave us. No, Linda agreed. But someone should have come sooner. You should never have been alone this long. She straightened up and looked at all 6 children. I'm human. My species is different from yours. We found this place by accident. But now that we know you're here, we're not leaving without you. That's a promise. The protective child pulsed a sharp pattern. You cannot promise. You will leave like the others. The others didn't know you were still here, Linda said. We do, and humans have a rule. We don't abandon children, ever, no matter whose children they are. She tapped her communicator. Jake, I'm ready to bring them out. 6 Crethery juveniles. Start the extraction sequence? Copy that, Jake's voice responded. Extraction in 30 seconds. Linda, be aware that this has never been tested. We're reverse engineering an alien system on the fly. If something goes wrong, then we fix it, Linda interrupted. These kids have waited 800 years. They're not waiting another day. A shimmer appeared in the air beside Linda. It grew into a doorway of light, crackling with energy. Through it, she could see the medical bay of the horizon's edge. Lieutenant Chris Palmer stood ready with monitoring equipment. Medical staff waited with supplies. That's your way out, Linda said to the children. On the other side is our ship. Real people, real air, real everything. You step through and you're free. The 6 Crethery looked at each other, their lights creating a storm of confused colors. The protective one pulsed aggressively. Trick, trap, false. Linda walked to the doorway and stuck her hand through it. On the ship, she saw Chris's eyes widen as her physical hand appeared from nowhere. She pulled it back and showed the children her hand, unchanged. Not a trick, she said. I'll go first if you want. I'll show you it's safe. She stepped through the portal. The transition was jarring. Her body felt heavy suddenly, real gravity pulling on her. The clean air of the ship filled her lungs. She turned and looked back through the doorway at the 6 crystalline children still frozen in fear. Come on, she called to them. Take the first step. That's always the hardest one. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the smallest child moved. It approached the doorway slowly, its lights pulsing with every color imaginable, fear, hope, terror, wonder. It reached the threshold and paused. Linda held out her hand. I've got you. You're safe now. The small Crethery touched her hand with its crystalline limb. Then it stepped through the doorway into reality. The child collapsed immediately. Alarms blared. Medical staff rushed forward. Linda's heart seized with panic. Had they heard it? Was the transition too much? But then the small Crethery began to pulse again. Slow, steady patterns. Its light moved through the spectrum from infrared to ultraviolet. And Linda realized what was happening. The child was not dying. It was crying. Tears of relief and joy and overwhelming emotion. It's okay, Linda whispered, kneeling beside it. You're out? You're really out. You're going to be okay. One by one, the other 5 children followed. Each collapsed upon arrival. Each wept in their own way. The medical staff worked quickly but gently, checking vital signs and ensuring the children were stable. Jake appeared in the medical bay, his face full of wonder. We did it. We actually did it. We did, Linda agreed. 6 down. About 12,000 to go. Jake's smile faded. You're sure about that number? More or less. The Nexus is huge, Jake, and some of the children are in deep, really deep, in sections of the simulation that have been corrupted for centuries. It's going to take everything we have to reach them all. Then we better get started, Jake said. He looked at the 6 Crethery children now being carefully moved to recovery pods. Send the message to Earth. Tell them we need more people. Scientists, doctors, teachers, anyone who's good with frightened kids. Tell them humanity has a new mission. Linda nodded and headed for the communication station. Behind her, the smallest Crethery child watched her go. Its lights pulsed a pattern that the translator rendered simply as "thank you. Thank you. Thank you." In the depths of the Nexus, thousands of other children still waited in the dark. But the first rescue was complete. The door had been opened, and humanity had just announced to the universe what it stood for: no child left behind. Not even alien ones? Not ever. 18 months after Captain Jake Morrison first discovered the Nexus, the last child walked through the extraction portal. She was a Callan, a species of energy beings who looked like living starlight. Her name, as close as human tongues could pronounce it, was Shimmer. Shimmer took one last look at the simulation that had been her prison for 900 years. Then she turned away and stepped into the real world. The portal closed behind her. The Nexus, its purpose fulfilled, began to shut down. Jake stood in the medical bay and watched his crew carefully tend to Shimmer, as she adjusted to having a physical form for the first time in centuries. Around him, the ship was full of noise and life. Children from 100 different species filled every available space, laughing and playing and discovering what it meant to be real. The final count was staggering. 12,371 children. 214 different species, most of them extinct or vanished from known space. All of them rescued. All of them free, but now came the hardest question. What happens next? Linda Hayes found Jake in his quarters that night. He was staring out at the stars, lost in thought. "We did it," she said quietly. "Every single child. We actually did it." "We did," Jake agreed. "Now we have 12,000 orphans with nowhere to go. Their worlds are gone. Their civilizations are dust. What do we do with them?" Linda sat down beside him. "Earth is debating that right now. The entire government is arguing about it. Some want to create isolated environments, try to raise each species according to what we think their cultures were like. Others want to send them to different alien civilizations, find species that might be related to them." "Both of those ideas are terrible," Jake said bluntly. "These kids have been isolated long enough. They don't need to be locked away again, even if it's in a nice enclosure. And we can't just ship them off to strangers." "I know," Linda said. "That's why I'm supporting the third option, integration." Jake looked at her. "You mean adopt them? Into human families?" "Why not?" Linda asked. "They're children. They need families. We have families. Thousands of humans have already volunteered. Teachers, doctors, parents who have experience with trauma. People who want to help. But they're aliens," Jake said. "Different biology. Different needs. Different everything. How can human families possibly care for them? The same way human families care for human children with different needs," Linda replied. "With patience. With love, with support. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, there will be challenges. But the alternative is leaving them in institutions or creating new prisons disguised as preserves." Jake thought about Lisa's, the Zentari leader who had tested him in the fractured lands. She had been living on the ship for months now, studying human culture, learning human languages. She had asked him once why humans cared so much. "Because you're kids," he had told her simply. "And kids deserve families. Has anyone asked the children what they want?" Jake asked. Linda smiled. "That's why I'm here. We're holding a meeting tomorrow. Every child who's old enough to understand will be there. We're going to give them the choice. Stay together in communities. Be adopted into human families. Try to find related species who might take them in. Or any combination they want. Their choice. Their decision." The meeting hall on the main support ship was packed. 12,000 children filled every seat and spilled out into the corridors. They came in every shape and size. Crystalline Crethari next to gaseous Thalan. Aquatic Vorlons in mobile water tanks beside silicon-based Narathi. The diversity was overwhelming. Admiral Helen Price spoke to them via hologram from Earth. Her image appeared large enough for everyone to see. "Children of the Nexus," she began. "You have been through more than anyone should ever endure. You were abandoned, forgotten, trapped, but you survived. And now you're free. The question is, what happens next? She explained the options carefully. Communities where they could live with others from their species or mixed groups. Adoption into human families. Attempts to contact any surviving relatives or similar species elsewhere in the galaxy. Educational programs. Medical support. Everything humanity could offer. But the choice is yours, Helen said firmly. You are not property. You are not refugees to be processed and assigned. You are people, individuals, and you get to decide your own futures. The response surprised everyone. About 2,000 children, mostly the older ones, chose to form their own communities. They wanted to preserve what fragments of their cultures remained, to build something new from the ashes of the old. Humanity immediately set aside land on 3 different colony worlds for them. Another 1,000 wanted to search for any surviving members of their species or close relatives. Humanity committed resources to help them explore the galaxy to find any connection to their lost peoples, but the vast majority, over 9,000 children, chose adoption. They wanted families. They wanted to belong somewhere. They wanted what they had been denied for so long, someone to care about them. Katie Morgan, the marine biologist who had spent weeks earning the trust of the Vorlon children, adopted 3 of them. She converted half her home into an aquatic environment and spent her days teaching them about Earth's oceans. Marcus Stone, the former foster care worker, took in 7 children from different species. His house became controlled chaos, a blend of languages and customs and needs. But it worked. Somehow it worked. And Jake Morrison, who had started this entire operation with a simple decision not to abandon children in need, adopted Lisa's, the ancient Zentari girl who had protected hundreds of others for thousands of years, finally had someone to protect her. The first year was hard. A Crethary child accidentally cut her human sibling with her sharp crystalline edges before learning control. A group of Thalen children struggled with Earth's different gravity and atmosphere. Communication barriers caused confusion and frustration. Some adoptions failed, requiring children to be moved to different families, but slowly, progress happened. Human parents learned to accommodate alien biology. Alien children learned to navigate human society. Bonds formed that transcended species. Linda Hayes wrote a paper about the integration that became required reading across human space. She called it the universal language of family. Her main point was simple. Caring for children might look different across species, but the core was the same: love, patience, commitment, the willingness to put someone else's needs before your own. 5 years after the rescue, the first generation of Nexus children began reaching adulthood according to their various species timelines. They had been raised in human homes, educated in human schools, but they had not become human. They were themselves, their own unique blend of ancient heritage and new experience. Some chose to form new communities, like the Vorlon collective that built an underwater city in Earth's Pacific Ocean. Others integrated fully into human society, becoming doctors and teachers and artists. Many did both, moving between worlds as they chose. 10 years after the rescue, a monument was built at the location where the Nexus had been. The ancient structure had been shut down and archived, its data preserved, but its function ended. In its place floated a simple memorial. The monument was a crystalline sphere that glowed with soft light. On its surface were carved the names of every child rescued, in their own scripts where known, in human writing where not. 12,371 names. Each one representing a life saved, a future given back. At the base of the monument, words were carved in 100 languages. They were not our children by blood or birth. They were our children because they needed us and we chose to answer. This is what family means. This is what humanity means. Jake Morrison, now retired from active service, attended the monument's dedication ceremony with Lisa's and several other rescued children who had become his extended family. He looked at the names glowing on the crystal and thought about that first day in the Nexus. When Linda had told him about the trapped children, He thought about the choice he had made. To help, to care, to refuse to abandon those who had already been abandoned once. Ryan Blake stood beside him. The commander had also retired and adopted 4 Nexus children of his own. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had reported the Nexus and moved on?" he asked. "If we had left it to someone else?" "No," Jake said simply. "Because we didn't, we made the right choice." Lises, now an adult by Zentari standards, worked as a counselor for newly rescued children from other situations. The galaxy was full of abandoned youth, it turned out. Nexus had not been unique. But now there was a model for how to help them. A system. A commitment. She looked up at the monument and then at Jake. "You know what the children call you?" she asked. "In the communities, in the families, everywhere. They call you the one who came back." "Came back?" Jake asked, confused. "Every child who has ever been abandoned has the same dream," Lises explained. "That someone will come back for them. That they weren't really forgotten. That someone cares enough to find them. You made that dream real." Jake felt emotion tighten his throat. "It wasn't just me. It was everyone. The crew. The volunteers. The families who opened their homes." "Yes," Lises agreed. "But you started it. You made the choice that mattered. And because of that, thousands of children who thought they were alone forever found out they weren't." The